Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica and our monthly MiSTer News newsletter where we take a look at everything going on in the MiSTer community this month, and it is going to be another big one. And I keep saying that, but it seems like every single month so many things are happening with MiSTer that there is just so much information to pop into these videos, and that means we're all going to have a good time. Before we get too far involved, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell definitely help us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But MiSTer has had another huge month, and the biggest takeaway from it is just how far the PlayStation 1 core has expanded. I've already done 5 previews on this, and I'll probably do a 6th one next week because it's constantly getting amazing new features. And ignore my bad driving here in Ridge Racer Revolution, it was just not my day. But we have all the sound hardware on PlayStation 1 now. We have the SPU, we have CDDA and CDXA audio, and basically now it's just the bug fixing stage. But the speed at which this core has progressed has been incredible, and I'm sure in April there's going to be even more stuff going on because the developer of this hasn't just implemented all that sound audio, he's done a lot of other things in the background as well. Quality of life improvements, getting the timings of the video a little bit more accurate, and things like speeding up actual performance in spots. And I expect to see a lot more cool things coming out for this core in April because it seems like the developer just has so many awesome ideas, and there's so many different ways to pivot the core, improve it, add features that are still maybe outstanding. But this is basically just a PlayStation 1 at this point in time, and the fact that it's moved that quickly is incredible. But moving over, you'll see here that there are some actual improvements to the core because it has talking about data caching, because a cache for data on a processor is just a place to store information before it's needed. And you'll see here that with that new feature, that caching enabled, some games are going to start seeing performance bumps over the original PlayStation 1 hardware. So you can either have it be exactly a PlayStation 1 or you can improve it ever so slightly, and that is spectacular. And what we have in conjunction as well is GunCon 2 support is improving for MiSTer as well. And if you guys want to see a video on how to set that up and how it works, leave me a comment down below and I'll try to get around to it. But taking a look at the intro to Point Blank here, I love this game so much. There are drivers available for the GunCon 2, and the reason GunCon 2 is being worked on is because it has a USB connector. You will still need a CRT at this point in time, just based upon how the technology works. Maybe in the future, for some of those PlayStation 1 style cores, and this is a PlayStation 2 game, I'm just showing GunCon 2 footage because it's an incredible light gun. Maybe there'll be some mouse support using that as well, but currently for a lot of it you're going to want a CRT, because honestly that's the way to play these type of games anyway. Sure, on an LCD they work decently, something like Ascendant is nice, but I prefer light guns on CRTs, and you cannot go wrong with that. But if you want to get in on the PlayStation 1 core, and I haven't done a setup guide yet, you really should pop over to the MiSTer Discord because there are unstable nightly builds all the time. And honestly, he's uploading so many different changes that sometimes there's more than one build in a day. And you can get in on that, talk to people, and get some of those bug fixes mentioned. But as far as PlayStation 1 is concerned in March, man, it's been a great month. Moving over to the arcade side, Jotego has released the Sega System 16 cores to the public, so you no longer have to be a Patreon member to get those. I mean, you certainly can, I'm sure you'd appreciate the support. But now all those great Sega System 16 games are going to be available on MiSTer for you to enjoy. And let me tell you, there are a ton of amazing games on the System 16. These were in arcades probably before I was going to arcades because I was a little bit too young, but going back and playing all of these classics on the Sega System 16 is just so much fun, even if there is just a total bootleg Spider-Man chasing. I've never understood why he's there. But there's a ton to be had here, and big thanks to Jotego for releasing these publicly after they are finished. I am a Patreon member of his because I love seeing what he's working on, but you don't have to be now for at least these cores, but I still recommend it. I mean, support the people that are giving you all this awesome stuff, because there's so many incredible games on the Sega System 16, there's so much fun to be had, and it is the origin of the original game Cotton, and I love this shmup, and it is really good on the X68000, another core that I've showed footage of it for. But the arcade original is still the best way to play it, and let me tell you, an original arcade PCB for Cotton is not going to be cheap, but with MiSTer, it's a lot more accessible, and that's what I love about MiSTer so much. But Jotego has some other good stuff going on as well. He is incorporating 5x image cropping into his cores, and I've done a video on 5x before. I'll leave a link below if I remember. And of course, he's always releasing new cores on Friday as well, and that's always a great thing. You get a new game basically every Friday. But yeah, System 16 on MiSTer is public. If you haven't updated and gotten it yet, I recommend you do so right after you watch the video. Now, Trash Uncle's been bringing the heat to MiSTer as well recently with all of his different filter presets, and I did a video a few weeks ago, and I will link that below as well if I remember, and I probably won't, I never do. But he has so many great different filters on MiSTer right now, some that are very easy to set, some that you can dig in deeper, but the video options for MiSTer increased greatly in late February to early March, and he also has a lot of new filters for the Game Boy as well, and I did ask for him permission previously to include his footage in the video, I always do, but he's been doing a great service to MiSTer users, giving us all different video filters to articulate and change how the MiSTer actually looks, because some people love the raw pixel output, some people like filtering it, and Trash Uncle is probably the #1 person right now generating all these different filters for MiSTer, and they're spectacular. I use them on some games, I don't use them on others, but the fun part about this is you can objectively decide what looks the best to you, and Trash Uncle deserves a big thanks, and I'll leave a link to his Twitter down below and I won't forget that one. Now moving over to the Saturn side, because I only know people are going to ask about this, I really don't want to talk about the Sega Saturn this month, and there's a very specific reason why that I will tell you in a moment, but there's just a little bit of Saturn footage running in the background because I knew if I didn't include it, people would say, hey, but what about Sega Saturn? I'm actually going to fade to black right now, because the developer of this Saturn core lives in Ukraine, and I'm sure if you've been following the news, you know exactly what's been happening there, and I cannot believe I need to put this in a MiSTer News video, and that's the world that we live in, where something this catastrophic and horrible can happen, but I genuinely hope he is and stays safe. I've spoken with him a few times long before anything happened. I'm not his friend, I just know him through the MiSTer scene, but I just wanted to address that because I knew people would ask about Saturn. Be good to each other out there. The world needs a lot more love and a lot less hate, and I shouldn't have to include this in a MiSTer video, but I hope that the core developer is safe and everything is resolved shortly. Now moving on to the Jaguar, because that is now a thing on MiSTer. There is a beta core, and it is kind of functioning, but it's getting better. Jaguar's been one of those systems that's been missing from the MiSTer. I mean, they should work on 3DO first because it's a better console, wink wink nudge nudge, and I'm sure I'll get comments about that. But currently you do need a second RAM stick for it to function, and here's just a little bit of preview footage from Twitter. It is working. Now, the Jaguar is not my favorite system in the world. I actually sold mine years ago, but there are some really good games on it. The original Rayman, Tempest 2000, Alien vs. Predator, those are all games that are worth playing. I really love Alien vs. Predator. I wish I had kept my Jaguar around for that one game alone. So I'm not saying there's nothing to play on the Jaguar. It's a decent system you should check out. And funny enough, not related to MiSTer whatsoever, last week I was playing Tempest 3000. I was wondering, I wonder if the MiSTer could actually handle the new one. I doubt it, but it's just a fun question I wanted to pose to you guys. Leave me a comment down below. Now on the MIDI side of things, there's been some hardware improvements and different options that you can use to get MIDI on your MiSTer, because if you use the cores that support MIDI, I can't recommend it enough, because for a while there was only certain Raspberry Pi setups models that were working well, but there are new products on the market and they look absolutely outstanding. Hopefully I get to test one of them soon. But there are two different setups for the Pi Zero, because I was using a Pi 3 in my MIDI video, but you'll see here that there are different options that are coming available relatively recently, and I do like how small this Pi Lite for the MiSTer really is, because my Pi setup, I really like it, but it's definitely more cumbersome than this, and I'll show it to you really quickly. It is just sometimes a gangly mess of wires on my floor, but MIDI is amazing. Listen for 20 seconds to see why. Okay, I lied, that was more like 10 seconds, but if you enjoy these cores, get the MIDI Pi Hat, because it also works on DOS as well, and you're really going to enjoy it. And now on the actual DE10 side of things, the shortage does continue, but I have seen that Terasic is selling these, and they're available to ship 4/7. So if you want one, order one directly from Terasic. And I have heard that a few people have just basically contacted them, and they do have some stock in the office they're willing to sell, and you will see there's a contact down here. I can't promise this is going to work, but I get a lot of comments now saying, I want to get into MiSTer, but I can't find one to buy. Don't buy them from the scalpers. I'm seeing more DE10 Nano boards sell on eBay, and this one's for $320. It's a $110 markup. Don't give scalpers the money. If they find out that there's a market for this, they're going to try to buy everything, and it's going to be just like the PlayStation 5. So try Terasic's site. I hope you get one, and let me know how that works out for you. But there's a lot of amazing stuff going on in MiSTer Land for March. PlayStation 1, Jotego, different filters, Jaguar, and I'm sure April's going to bring even more news. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Tell me what you think of the video and about the PlayStation 1 core. I'm curious how many people are actually playing that right now. But I'll have another MiSTer video next Thursday, probably PlayStation Preview number 6, and I'll have videos throughout the week as well. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and we will see you next time with more MiSTer news. Bye-bye.